Welcome back to another episode of Weekly Tangents. I'm sure that not only is this show the highlight of your week, it's also one of the highlights of your life. And that,
Mm.
my dearest Dylan, is exactly what we're going to be talking about today.
The highlight of your life?
Well, our lives, the days of our lives, the TV show.
Oh, I haven't
No,
seen
I'm
that. Is
just
that going
kidding.
to be a problem?
I've never seen a single episode of it, but I'm sure we can make up a plot.
I think that sounds like a bad episode.
Yeah, that's not what we're doing. Instead, we've intentionally and inadvertently disclosed some of our most embarrassing, regrettable moments, like your worm on the ground that got you excommunicated from school, or me pissing my pants every day at school to go home early. So I want to give us a moment to have a little bit of redemption,
Okay.
so that we're not the most depressing podcast on the planet. Let's talk about some of our happiest, most memorable moments in life.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm assuming you don't have one ready off the top of your head, so I could open
I
up if
just
you
don't think
want.
I have any. My life's just nothing but bad moments.
That's not why I wanted to do this episode, but just kind of realized I was thinking, yes, I actually was thinking about this for a different podcast idea. I was like, what is some of Dylan's highlights, most happiest moments in his life? I'm like, shoot, I actually don't think I know those off the top of my head. So I actually am doing this because to find out more about you.
Oh, is that the game then? Is that we guess each other's highlight moments?
I guess we could, yeah, you know what? Scrap my idea. Let's do that. Okay. So now we're going unscripted. Okay. I'll start by guessing your one of your happiest days of your lives or
Okay, are these
life.
going to be canon days that you know happened, or just guessing of something that may have happened and maybe in my top whatever?
You know what? I'm gonna do both, but I'm gonna start with one that actually happened, what I think is one of your happiest days.
Okay.
Okay. Shoot, I didn't have one off the top of my head ready for this because this wasn't in the script.
I mean, you chose to accept that proposition.
Okay, one of the happiest days of your life, no doubt, was with the. Okay, there was a period in college, a solid 2 years, I want to say, when you were part of a Korean, Korean meetup, more or less, right?
Yes.
And surely one of your favorite days was with them, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so in that, one time you did a drinking game with them
Oh,
where
correct.
everyone was drinking copious amounts of alcohol and you were playing some games and doing really well and winning, and everyone was proud of you.
Oh, okay. So this is going the other way around. And the first time I just got like drunk off my ass and had to
Oh
write
no!
to
Oh
myself.
wait, no, that actually did happen. That was not one of the good moments. I completely forgot about that already. I was making this up as I went.
Oh, I thought you were just using that as a basis.
No, no, I'm complete. I don't know. I don't know what the best moments of your life have been. That's why I wanted to do this. We're scrapping this idea and going back to the original. Tell me what one of
Okay.
your best days are, Dylan.
So one time when I was drinking with my Korean friends
No,
and I
no,
bought all the games.
actually one of the best because I don't know what some of the best days of your life have been.
Some of the best days of my life. Honestly, Jonathan, it's a lot easier to focus on the bad than it is on the good. So it is kind of hard for me. But I guess a lot of my favorite moments are bittersweet moments. Does that work for you, Jonathan?
That works, although that doesn't help this be a less depressing podcast. But go ahead.
Okay. So, like, for me, one of my favorite moments was when I graduated with my bachelor's degree because I was finishing it up online, and it was something where, especially this was like during the height of COVID and everything, I hadn't really like made progress on anything. I was just kind of feeling like down day to day, but I like drove it into gear and I finished 81 credits in my final semester.
Jesus
Um,
Christ.
yeah, and it's just a cool feeling because like I didn't think that I'd be going back. Now I am going back for my master's in starting in March. But it's just this feeling of like, wow, I am done with school. Like I didn't necessarily feel proud because it wasn't hard, as you can see by the fact that I finished 81 credits in one semester. But it's just this feeling of like I don't complete many things that I try, and the fact that I actually completed all that stuff and graduated a little bit early even, and just felt like, man, I'm actually done with this stuff, I accomplished something, was a pretty decent feeling.
No, I could definitely see that. Like,
But
obviously,
you can't relate.
I could relate for my associates.
Yeah, but not for your high school diploma or your bachelor's because those don't exist.
Moving on back to subject. Well, I think part of what probably made it even sweeter was the fact that your first time with your first university was just awful. So just being able to put that behind you and say after all that you actually did have a piece of paper to prove it was probably really awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sadly enough, the piece of paper, just like my associates, I assume it was the same for you, takes like 2 months to come in the mail.
It took forever. I completely forgot about it. I'm not gonna lie. Then it came in the mail. I'm like, oh yeah, I never did get that.
Yeah, like the bachelor's, I needed to come into the mail because I was going to Korea and I needed proof of that. But the associates was definitely something where, if I graduated in May, I don't think I got that until like July.
Oopsie. Just
Yeah,
the Korean program being like, "Where's your diploma? Are you sure you graduated?"
yeah, no one was sure. But
Oh
yeah,
man.
that's one for me. How about you? If anything in your pathetic thing you call a life?
Well, in my pathetic life, I got a few stories for you. I'm debating which ones I feel like telling, but
Okay,
I'll
let me tell you, Jonathan.
oh yeah, yeah, you guess one of the best days in my life. You get one attempt before you probably give up as well.
Okay, so you were drinking with your Korean friends, as you tend to do.
Yeah, I have a
And
ton of Korean friends.
one of your favorite days of your life. Oh, I think I actually do know one. I'll tell
Oh,
you that, Jonathan.
let's
Is
hear it.
a couple years ago during the summer, you had this period of time where you and two of our mutual friends, but they're more so your friends than they are mine, were really in a Dance Dance Revolution phase. And you
Mhm.
guys, I think, just one day like went out, did some DDR, like had a campfire on the beach, slept there overnight, and you weren't doing school at the time because it was summer, and you just kind of felt like, man, life life's pretty good right now.
Well, damn. Well, let me actually tell the whole story, but yeah, you got it right. That is one of the days that I wrote down.
Haha, we see who knows who better.
Yeah, evidently, I'm just not a good listener, or you don't share your happy days that often.
Yeah, Sag.
So this story, going to go elaborate in a little more detail, is called Chillin' con mis compadres in Coronado.
Why is it all in Espanol?
No, no, chillin' wasn't in Espanol. I just wanted the alliteration.
Okay.
I guess I could have said my companions, but you know what? Anyways, so that whole thing actually was a drunken idea I came up with because I only make good decisions when I'm drunk, and we're not gonna deviate from that narrative.
Okay.
And what ended up happening was I told my friend that I wanted to go to the beach and stay overnight, but it's illegal in a lot of places to do that. So we
Which
decided.
friend? The one whose name starts with J-O or the one whose name starts with J-O?
Well, now it's a KI. But point being, what ended up happening was, shoot, we went to this fancy Italian place because we were looking for places to eat at Coronado. But I don't know if you've ever been there, but they have basically zero fast food establishments and very few grocery stores as well.
Okay.
So it's basically only upscale eateries. And you go on Google Maps and it's all $3 or $4 signs. And we just kind of look at each other nervously, like we did not intend for it to be that expensive, right?
Yeah.
But thankfully, we found this one establishment that had a $2 sign, and we're like, screw it, we're going there.
Okay. If it's the only one, sure, why not?
And it ended up being like this upscale Italian place. And when I say upscale, I mean like when they serve you water, they came out with like glass water bottles they popped the cork out of. They would pour you your water, and any unfinished water they just pour down the drain and not reuse the bottle. They take it like they just leave it there, like not on the table, but like in this one area in the restaurant that you could see. So like one, that's a tremendous waste of water. But like this is the level of upscaleness. The best water I've had in my life. Nothing has ever come close to it, like even remotely. The
I
food,
don't believe that, but okay.
no, it actually was like the best water I've ever had. Like it's crazy. Like I don't know what they did to it, but
Put some
it's a
MSG in the water.
high that I'm trying to chase. Nothing's gotten me there again, Dylan.
Okay.
The food was, pretty. It was like fancy food, so it's like the taste. Yeah, it's good, but not worth the price, and also the portion sizes aren't necessarily the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
But what was memorable really was going down to the beach because we got those weird logs where like you burn it in the packaging, and my friend also got that powder thing you put on it to where it does rainbow color, which was pretty cool. But
Oh, I didn't
beyond
know that
that,
was a thing.
oh yeah, like it turns it from normal orange into rainbow colors, which is really awesome. But
Okay.
the real highlight was two things that happened there. One, we saw other people getting kicked off the beach overnight, but they let us go there with a roaring fire for seemingly no reason.
Hmm.
So, thank you, police people, for not ruining this story. But also, I don't know if I've actually said this on the podcast or even to you, but I have some pretty bad tinnitus, to be honest.
Really?
Like,
Okay.
I hear ringing like when I wear headphones. Like right now, I'm hearing constant ringing. I'm just trying to ignore it, and now that I'm addressing it, it's getting kind of hard. But like if I'm sleeping at night, like I cannot sleep in silence without it driving me crazy, which is pretty bad now that I'm sleeping in my car. But for the rest of my life, I'd always sleep with music on or like white noise as when I'm studying, like just to get like the ringing out of my ears.
Hmm.
But that night with the roaring like fire and with the ocean waves and just normal talking, I heard like zero ringing. It was like some of the best sleep I got in my life, which is amazing because we only slept like 30 minutes, but still,
Huh?
like honestly, just a very memorable night.
All right. All right. I mean, hey, at least I got it right, even if I didn't get all the details.
Yeah, honestly, like I still don't think I can name a single one of your best days. I'll come up with another one. You and a mutual friend of ours, Matthew,
Hmm.
he would hang out with you a lot. He'd stay over at your house, but one day you guys went out of the house to do a fun little thing.
Oh, so specific.
You guys went to watch a movie together, and it was a pretty alright movie, but then you went to the mall afterwards and bought some no, you didn't buy anything. You were just window shopping and talking the whole time. It was really memorable, even though it just sounds like a standard boring hangout.
Yeah, it sounds like a very generic thing. And honestly, I don't think this has ever happened. And if it did, I do not remember it.
Well, it was so good you had to block it out of your memory to keep it consistent with the rest of your days, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this, probably part of the reason why you haven't heard too many of my like greatest memories is cuz I don't really have too many, Jonathan. Like I have some like decent highlight moments, I guess. Like I remember in high school, that friend Matthew and some of our other
I
friends, your
told you.
friend who was in your story, we were all on the same League of Legends team, and our school had League of Legends tournaments that would go on. And I joined the tournament 3 times, I think. Once freshman year, once sophomore year, once junior year. And every time I joined, minus the first time, we won. And every time I didn't join, minus the first time because we lost that time, they lost. So they only won with me on the team. And every time we won, I mean, it was like a cool experience. You get like a $5 or $10 gift card for like League of Legends points or whatever. And it was like, woohoo, I won something. But even then, that's not
Mhm.
like, man, this was really a great day with great memories or anything like that. It was just kind of like, oh, this was cool, I guess.
Well, well, I think one thing that might be interesting here, like, is you generally are a happier person than me and have a better time in general than I do. So
I think
maybe,
that's a low bar.
well, I was gonna say maybe the days kind of bleed together for you, whereas for me, if I have a good day, I really hold on to it and remember it. I don't know.
Yeah, I, I mean, maybe that's part of it. Also, part of it is like, since graduating high school, or for you, since dropping out of high school, you've had
Legally
like a
graduated.
constant. Okay, well, keep telling yourself that. You've had like constant friend pools and activity pools, whether it be like when you went to your community college and you joined like the helping people club or whatever the fuck it was, and you
Yeah, the
made some
Helping
friends
People
there.
Club.
Yeah, the helping people club, and you had some activities there, and you made different friends from your classes and stuff like that. Where I made zero friends in community college, I made zero friends at normal college, I've made zero friends at work, more or less. So it's just like you've had more experience, because highlight moments don't tend to be by yourself.
Yeah.
So you've had more chances. We graduated, or I graduated high school, what, like 6 years ago at this point. So in the past 6 years, I haven't had too many chances for highlight moments. Like I've had some cool moments going to Korea and stuff, but some of those, in retrospect, become like a bittersweet or become tainted for reasons. But
Yeah.
Yeah, like as a whole, I think that if we're considering high school times, yeah, they're probably just like consistently good. If we're considering the past 6 years, I think you've just done more than me.
Then you know what? We're flipping the script on this episode for a third time.
Oh my god, I can't wait to title this podcast.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that in the back of my mind. This time, we have a choice because inevitably we're gonna run out of stuff to talk about, and you're gonna have to go to the other one anyways. So
I
you
mean,
get
I could keep on saying small things and then
nah,
keep on guessing correctly your happy moments because
no,
I'm a
no.
good friend and I remember.
This cannot be a one-way street. So instead, we're gonna make it a two-way street and say,
We're
Dylan.
inviting Matthew into the call.
Well, actually, that's for a future podcast.
Oh,
But
okay.
no, instead, I'm gonna say, Dylan, what is your favorite memory with me, excluding the time we watched Parasite?
I mean, that's not necessarily a favorite memory. That's just like a favorite movie I've watched with you. It's not like the memory itself was like, man, I loved it when Jonathan and I watched Parasite.
Okay, well, yeah. What's your favorite memory with me?
Okay. My favorite memory with you, well, this one's actually a bit easier because even when I was just trying to think of like favorite memories, some of these were coming into mind. Which one is I'm not sure if we brought it up on the podcast before, but you and I had something called Jacuzzi Talk, which was normally between you and me. Sometimes we would have a third person come over, but I had a jacuzzi at my house in California, and we would just come over and stay in the jacuzzi for anywhere between 2.5 and 5 hours. And
Your mom's poor water bill.
yeah, less so the water bill, more so the heating bill. But yeah, and we would just talk about like anything during that time. But Jacuzzi Talk was known as Jacuzzi Talk because that's the time where you can talk about anything. If you're like, hey man, I'm having sexual fantasies about Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z, like that's the place to tell.
No one was supposed to know about that.
Hey, I didn't say if it was you or me, but
Oh shoot.
yeah, I like there's not a specific Jacuzzi Talk, but just that as a like general experience is definitely a highlight for me.
Yeah, definitely. Because those conversations were the kind that you don't normally have with people, very vulnerable, enlightening, or just fun for that matter. Like, we definitely had a lot of very memorable ones, no doubt about that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess in your mind, then, if we're going down this route of this being the question for both of us, like, I assume that falls into the same category for you of like highlight moments.
Yeah, that was definitely up there. As far as other things that we did that were pretty fun, let me think. Um, I I don't know why. I really distinctly remember that day when we were doing those dumb Olympic things around your house, your backyard
Was that
specific.
during COVID or was that prior to?
It was during COVID.
Okay.
But specifically, one thing that sticks out in my mind that I hate that we did so much, this was earlier in the day before we made it an official Olympic day, but we were going into your jacuzzi and trying to sing or scream lyrics underwater, and
I
none
do
of our
remember
friends
that.
would have to hear it and try and figure out what it was. And I don't know why I distinctly remember that as being so fun because it's not something I ever want to do again necessarily because I got a lot of water in my lungs, I think.
Yeah,
But
probably. We did a lot of dumb things with screaming when you lived at my house during COVID. There was that, and then us shaking our heads violently to add like a dubstep
I
effect to our
really
voices.
gave ourselves concussions because my head hurt after that.
Yeah, I still to this day get like I just can't do it. If I try to start, I just get scared.
Yeah, I don't shake my head like that anymore. Like, I'm very cognizant of how I do it. We did a
Yeah.
lot of interesting things. Also, I remember other fun things was how I would be in a like this not Discord. It would have been at that time Zoom call with some of my friends and their mutual friends, and you'd be in the background like climbing the arches in the hallway, like your back against one wall, your feet against the other, just climbing up, and eventually someone would be like, "What the, what the heck is he doing?"
I just had to flex on you and your friends.
They grew to appreciate you in unique ways.
I'm glad to hear that, but I enjoyed that. I mean, the whole COVID thing was just like there's lots of highlight memories there. I remember watching you play Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, which was
How much you hated it.
terrible in its own way just because of how you play games, but that was fun.
Yeah, let me think. My happiest day with Dylan. I think actually one of the ones that really stood out to me, the very first time you took me out to Korean barbecue, it was Gen or Jen, I'm not sure how it's pronounced,
Okay, so
but
this was already when I was at my dad's house then.
yeah, you must have been at that point.
Yeah.
I never had Korean barbecue, and so just the whole one, the food was amazing. It was just normal us talking and like for X amount of time, but now we had food and we're making food. The music was good because it was K-pop, I think. Um, it was just it was genuinely a lot of fun. I don't remember what else we did, but it was an eye-opening experience to me, and I've had Korean barbecue countless times since then, and now I probably owe you one after the last episode.
That is true. I did forget about that, so thank you for
Oh
reminding me.
shit, never mind, never mind. That never happened. These episodes have no continuity.
Yeah, sure, we can go with that. But yeah, the KBBQ was good. It's still just amazing where like even if I'm 1.5 times your weight and you're a string bean, you can put down just as much as me, if
Oh
not
yeah,
more.
when it comes to food, I'm definitely a marathon guy. Like I could never eat as fast as someone, but if you want to count how much food I'm eating over an hour versus how much food someone else is eating over an hour, it's gonna be close.
Yeah.
Like it's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I do have to bring up, not about this, but just as a highlight moment, which I'm sure you have to know, this is one of my highlight movements, is does Scrabble ring a bell in your mind?
Uh, yeah,
What
I'm
if
just
I
trying to.
said Slafter?
I hate you so much. Go on and tell the story.
So, dude, one of my favorite moments that I used to retell all the time when I had friends to talk to, cries, was you and I, whenever you slept over at my house, prior to COVID, because they were actual sleepovers and not just you living with me,
Yeah,
um, we I don't know why, but we would just do random shit. Like, some of my friends, Matthew would come over and it's just like, okay, it's Call of Duty time. It's,
it's
Dragon Ball
Morden
Z
time.
Budokai Tenkaichi 3 time or stuff like that. But you and I were like, hey man, let's play Trivial Pursuit. Let's, make up a twerking routine. Let's do K-pop girl group dances. And one time we played Scrabble. And when we were playing Scrabble, you and I, prior to getting being old enough that we actually tried any alcohol or got drunk, which I still to this day think that it's a pretty accurate description, is if you stay up late enough, it feels like you're drunk. Just
It's
your
extremely
mentality,
close.
yeah, your mentality and everything about it just like it goes kind of crazy. Things that shouldn't be funny become funny. And we were playing Scrabble, and someone, I don't know who, had played the word laughter.
It
Maybe
would have
someone
been
played
me.
laugh and someone added tur to it later, but either way, laughter was out there. And like a really solid strat, if you wanted easy extra points, is find a long word and just add s to the end of it. But laughter, the r was at the edge of the board, so you couldn't do that. But in front of the L, stuff was open. So you and I were joking. I was like, "Hey man, I got this S. You think slafter's a word? you know?" And we were just cracking up, even though it's stupid to say now. In the moment, it was like the most hilarious thing ever in the world.
Oh
Just
yeah, I couldn't
slafter.
stop laughing.
Yeah, so I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna play Slafter. You can challenge me to see if it's a real word or not. You were like, dude, it's hilarious, but there's no fucking way that Slafter is a word. So I go up and look it up in the dictionary, and I'm just amazed at how stupid we were when it's just like, dude, it's a word. And you thought I was just pulling your chain, as the cool kids say. You're like, there's no chance Slafter is a word. And you look at it and it's just like, oh my fucking god, Slafter, like mass murdering of people, and then it's like, oh fuck, it's pronounced slaughter. The English language is just terrible.
I remember the sheer look of surprise on our faces. Like, it was the most unheard of thing ever. Who could have thought laughter was slaughter?
Yeah.
It's I also remember a distinctly different game we played. It was with a mutual friend of ours. With I remember I was like, "Hey, if you have the right letters, you could play the word dragons." But what are the odds of you having that? And somehow, with every single one of their letters, it conveniently lined up because they had a blank letter too that they could spell dragons, and that ended up being the thing that won them the game.
Yeah, because it was dragons and it was on a triple word score, so it's like, oh well, there's 60 points or whatever.
And the sheer burning hatred in your eyes.
Yeah, just like you had to point it out and let them win the game.
How was I supposed to know they had the exact letter combination?
Yeah, well, I mean that friend. There were some other highlight moments with the three of us being together. Where there was a time where that friend had a girlfriend that we both knew. So she came over one time, and it was just like a four-way minus anything sexual.
Mhm.
um, and first of all, there was just some very awkward moments, like trying to play Dungeons and Dragons. But I remember that they were like doing their flirtatious thing in the other room, and you and I were just well, we got to be weird in the other room if we're doing that. So you and I just like, I would hold you in a wheelbarrow style, and it's just like, okay, we're making a yoga like duos campaign like stretching thing right here. So let's do this, let's do this. Meanwhile, they're just in the other room at my house, not hanging out with me, which it's a pretty notable thing.
In
And
retrospect,
yeah, it was
yeah.
just, man, we're weird.
I think the thing I distinctly remember was I made a bondage joke about tying up their girlfriend right in front of them, but the girlfriend laughed and thought it was funny, so I'm like, "Phew, I'm in the clear." Like, I don't remember what the context was. I think it was one of Scruffy's ropes or something, a
Honestly, that would
and
probably be it. Oh,
I
that's another highlight right there that I forgot about is Scruffy. Scruffy's just a highlight in general, but now he's dead, so he's a low light.
yeah, well, do we still tell stories about Scruffy, or is that off limits?
No, that's off limits. Never
Dang.
forget, but never remember.
Well, there was this one ghost one time me and Dylan were hanging out. Like it was a
What?
shadow. And I was playing games with you, and so my hands were
Oh, okay, I know what you're
occupied.
talking about. Yes, Scruffy. Scruffy's the ghost.
Yes, yes. And Scruffy the ghost kept trying to go in front of us to steal my buffalo, not Buffalo Wild Wings. It was wings and things, still spicy chicken. And we couldn't let that happen. So,
You
cuz
couldn't let that happen.
I couldn't let that happen. I'm poor. I can't afford to give away any chicken. Also, I don't think dogs are supposed to eat spicy chicken for that matter. But
He was a trooper.
yeah, Scruffy thought differently. So eventually, after 20 times of lightly shoving him away, once he kept trying to go in front of us, he came up with a good idea of let's go behind, and I'll be damned if it didn't work.
Yeah, he just well, it was also great because didn't he like pull your plate away so that way when you went to
He
reach over,
did.
you and I looked back and were like, oh, the dog took your plate, dragged it behind the table while we were in the middle of a round of like Naruto or something, and just proceeded to eat all of your foods.
It was amazing. We got thoroughly outsmarted by a chihuahua.
You got thoroughly outsmarted. I had no stake in your food.
Yeah, you were just, if anything, you were proud of him.
I was, as were you.
Honestly, yeah, as was I. But yeah, so those are some of our best moments together. So now moving on to the final segment of this once scripted episode that has really gone to hell.
Oh my
Uh,
god, I'm definitely gonna have trouble naming this.
the best memories you never had. And I'm sure you're confused. You're thinking, Jonathan, am I making up a memory? You could do that if you want. But instead, I guess because I'm improving here, we're going to talk about memories we each have where if the other person was there, it could have been better. Or if you were there in the other person's memory, it would have been great. You think you would have fit in or whatever.
So we're self-inserting ourselves into memories to make them better.
Or worse if you want, just how you would have completely ruined it. I don't know. Sure, that's the general vibe.
Okay, okay, hit me with it, I guess.
Well, here's one. I don't did you go to grad night? I don't think you did. Did you?
Wasn't grad night at Disneyland?
It was at Disneyland.
Yeah, I think that was A, expensive, and B, I don't care about Disneyland. So, no, I did
Really?
not.
Well, shoot. Well, I can't use that story then. But I remember everyone talking about how fun it was, and they had turkey legs like the size of your arms. So I made an Instagram account dedicated for it for our friend. It was a whole thing. But if you weren't there, then I can't insert myself unless you also insert yourself. And we talk about how we would have ruined
Then
it.
it's just a complete hypothetical.
I said that was allowed.
Remember that time
Instead.
when you and I didn't go to this place, but we did anyway? I think for grad night, no, it wasn't for grad night. It was for prom. I didn't want to go to prom because it was like $150, and it was just it would have been like me, Matthew, and other white boy friends who were just like, "Yeah, we're at prom by ourselves. This is cool, even though none of us like to dance, and this was a lot of money." So I was just like, "Mom, can you give me like $50 for Domino's, and I'll invite a friend over or something?" And that's what I did for prom.
Honestly, and then imagine if I was there. It would have been even better. Okay,
Yeah.
no, realistically, I think a memory that did happen that I would have been different if I was there. It would have been interesting if we went to Korea together, like the first time you went.
Yeah,
when you were
especially because I
homeless.
slept outside the first time.
First off, that would have just been preparation for me, training. But second off, I think it would have been interesting seeing how history would have been rewritten. You know, maybe instead of staying in a hostel, maybe the two of us could have pooled money together or something, stayed in a better place.
Jonathan, let's
Obviously,
be real. You, even if you have $50,000 saved up, would be like, man, I'm not sure if I want to spend an extra $100 to have a nice place. Let's just sleep on top of each other in this hostel.
you're not even wrong. I guess one thing that might have been different. Remind me, your girlfriend at the time. Did you meet her on your first trip or your second trip?
First trip.
So that would have automatically just rewritten your entire life and history right there.
It could have, or it could have made it a real awkward, polygamous relationship.
It coulda. Do you think you realistically would have went out looking for someone when if I was there?
Um, I think it's possible if both of us did, but I would not ditch you to try to do that solo.
Dang, I respect you. Well, then let's think about butterfly effect. What happens if you never meet her?
If I never meet her, then I go back to. Well, this also changes so many things because then
Yeah,
also
cuz
you go to Korea. So it's like, are you trying to teach in Korea with me? Do I have a
well,
different perspective on it because neither of us speak Korean, so we don't get to go to as many places? Like, dude, it just changes so much.
do you ever go back to Korea as well? Cuz I think I remember the trip was a bust until I guess you met her and you got to like go crazy rich Asians right there with her family. So like do you even go back? I guess maybe if we had a fun time together it'd be different. I don't know.
Yeah, if we had a fun time together, plus the first time that I went, I did have my Korean American friend who goes back during the summer. So even if I only saw him for one day, I did see him there and we hung out and had fun. So I don't know. Dude, it would probably change so much. But I mean, I still think that we should go to Korea together sometime.
Oh no, I agree. And then we could rewrite history right there.
I
But
mean, is it really rewriting if it happens right then?
no, I'm actually from the future.
Okay. Then you know
uh,
what, Jonathan? I want your input on how this rewriting of history would change your life, if at
okay.
all. What if you and I went to UCI together, going into the same major and lived in the same house as roommates?
So that changes a few things right off the bat. One, I'm probably a lot less miserable at Irvine, but you're probably
Okay.
a lot more miserable in exchange.
I
Um,
mean, maybe, maybe not. I'll just cheat off all of your coding homework and
oh,
change
there
like
we
one
go.
thing.
Realistically, I think I might have. Would I leave sooner is the thing I'm thinking internally. I think I probably would have because I wouldn't see you sticking around, and if you didn't stick around, and I was then I have subsequent misery that from just the schooling and not having the friend there. Because if you're there, I probably am not making my new friends. Quite frankly, like
Not your
uh,
friend Flavio.
I probably don't meet my friend Flavio and whatnot. Because that whole thing was a complete accident. That was just me going to use the printer and always going after free food. I went to a pretty weird, awkward meetup event thing. I don't really see you being down for that, so I probably would just hang out with you instead. So I don't meet a lot of friends who have become foundational for me. Still talk to them every day to this day, some of them. And then when you leave UCI, I have no friends, hate my major and everything. I probably leave sooner. And
Why do you
honestly, that's
assume that I'm leaving UCI before you?
well, because the reason I'm saying it like this is you technically left Dominguez Hills before I left UCI by like a
Oh.
year. So and that was with a more
No.
manageable mate, didn't you?
Yes and no. I left Dominguez Hill
Because I was
spring of 2020, and you finished your spring of 2020 and you did summer, right?
yeah, but then I also did another 2 semesters after that, or
At,
quarters.
at UCI?
Yeah, they were online because I had to do the senior writing
Oh, because
project.
you're on the
Remember?
quarter system. That's why.
Yeah, so I stayed all the way through up until spring 2021. So
Really?
yeah, that was a whole nother year basically. So,
Okay.
like, I'm just saying, like, you left sooner at that school, so presumably at Irvine, the case would still probably be the same. I'm
No, no,
working with
no, because
that. Oh,
I
no,
left that.
you think you stay longer because you love computer engineering?
No, not because of computer engineering. The reason why I left Dominguez Hills was like part of it is because I had no friends at Dominguez Hills and I had to leave to go to school every day at 4 a.m. That way it was a 30-minute drive and I could sleep in my car for 2.5 hours as opposed to leaving at 5 a.m. or later and it immediately becomes a 90-minute to 2 hour drive because fuck LA traffic. So in
True.
that case, I would have one friend, one very good friend who I might even start a podcast with at at UCI, and I just have to walk to school.
Okay, so realistically then, okay, let's say you actually go to UCI for like communication, something that you would enjoy a lot more than computer engineering, but we still live together and all that.
Hmm.
Maybe having a good friend there helps me do better in school because my mental health is better, helps you do better because you have friends and connections. Shoot, maybe we just go all the way. And then maybe with that, I end up going into computer science as a full time career and I'm making $80,000 a year now.
Yeah, well, I guess you just got to blame it on me not going to UCI with you. Granted, I don't think I could make it into UCI is part of the issue, but hypothetically, if I somehow got accepted, yeah.
I think you had every bit of potential. You just didn't have the grades.
Well, I mean, I think that's the important thing. I don't think UCI looks at you and goes, "This guy, I feel something in his potential. Let's let him in."
Not really. But point being, that would have been an interesting way to change history. And then maybe, I don't know, shoot, we get to live together sooner. And then when the pandemic happens, I probably still go back with you to your mom's house anyways. And then the timeline converges.
I mean, that is a nice thing of it does you don't have to wonder like, "Oh, but if we lived together, would we hate each other then?" It's like, "No, we lived together for like 4 months and it was just fine."
Yeah, if anything, it might actually have been a little better Irvine because we would have had our own rooms and not have to worry about like family or anything.
Or
So,
rats.
or the AC not working.
Or rats in the AC. There were so many rats.
So I don't know. I think there's some potential butterfly effect thing that could be kind of interesting here.
All right. All right. Well, I would name that the title of the episode if that was the topic we talked about, but instead, fuck it, we'll see what I name it.
Yeah, we went off and made four entirely different script and episode ideas here. Like, yeah, I came in with like a two-page script and I used maybe two paragraphs of that.
Well, that's on you. You were the one who chose to drive it in this direction.
Eh, it might be another bad Jonathan episode, but it's an exciting one.
Is it?
Maybe.
Okay. Well, we'll let the two viewers decide that.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, toot toot for Newt.
Ta ta for now.